Hi everyone, this is GKCS. Today's topic is not on algorithms or system design, it's on diversity in tech. So if you're looking for a technical video, this video is not going to be that. It's a chat that I had with Shreya Prasad on various questions around diversity hiring or diversity in tech. The basic idea of bringing diversity into any space is because you want a diverse set of opinions or a diverse set of viewpoints when dealing with problems. Now, there are varied levels up to which we want to use this tool or this method, because to increase diversity, we don't want to lose out too much on meritocracy. But if you bring in pure meritocracy, well, the methods that we use for actually measuring them may not be as accurate as we want. So bringing in some forced diversity, so to speak, could be one solution to the problem. What I'd urge you to do is not to think about this discussion as a sermon. It's much more of understanding our own viewpoints and digging into ourselves to come up with solutions to really complex problems. Having said that, let's welcome Shreya to the show. So Shreya, welcome. My first question to you today is does diversity hiring reduce the quality of hires in an organization?
If in a diversity hiring program, the competition is being cut short because of the number of candidates are less. And even if, let's say, that the interview process or the test process, even if it's very tough, the number of since the number of candidates have been reduced, therefore the competition has been reduced. I've heard this so many times, and and it is somewhat correct, right? Like number wise, we can say that competition has been reduced, but life is never fair for anyone. Even if we talk about 10 to 15 years back, women were not even allowed to work, and men were, and everything was, every like career option was male dominated, to be honest. So life is never fair for anyone.
In case anyone's wondering, it still is. Shreya, when you say 15 years ago we were not allowed to work, I would like to. I mean, I'm understanding where you're coming from. In general, if you're talking about India, there's a lot of places and a lot of families where, let's say, women are not encouraged to work. Even today, it's reduced dramatically as India has progressed. As India has progressed economically, it has reduced dramatically. 15 years ago, if a person was from, let's say, Mumbai, from a affluent place, her father or mother would usually be sensible enough to say, "Yeah, go ahead, do what you want to do in life." However, there are many societies within India where women are being discouraged, and 15 years ago were probably being discouraged even more. Okay, this is my personal understanding of the situation. I might be totally wrong, guys. Like we said, if you have any counterexamples, criticism, data, you can of course post it in the comments. We are all open for this. Sorry, Shreya, for interrupting again, but yeah.
No worries, and you are absolutely right. Like maybe because I'm from Delhi and I'm from the capital of India, maybe I'm not able to see that kind of a situation that was there 15 years ago, right now. And you are like, of course, like you have more life experience, and of course you have seen much more than I have, so it definitely makes sense. So what I want to say is that by diversity hiring, the quality of hires is not reduced at all. In fact, research has shown that diversity has actually boosted the business by 87% of the times. And when I will be stating all these facts, they all are taken from Forbes magazine. So you can you cannot doubt the credibility of the source at this moment. So the stats say that teams that follow an inclusive process make decisions faster, and that too with half of the meetings. So basically, you are getting your work done quickly. And decisions made and executed by diverse teams deliver 60% better results. And according to the research as well, teams outperform individual decision makers 66% of the times, and decision making improves as team diversity increases. So, compared to individual decision makers, all male teams make better business decisions 58% of the times, while gender diverse teams do so 73% of the times. So it has been quantitatively proven that diversity hiring has actually improved the business and also the workplace culture of an organization.
Guys who are watching, like, it's not like so what's going on in my head, what's going on in my head is that the most successful companies are usually tech companies which focus on diversity. Now it's hard to say whether their success is because of diversity or because of extreme concentration of talent there, which in general brings up awesome results. Another thing would be the sample size. I haven't read the research, so therefore I should probably shut up and read the research. We'll put it in the description. Who should decide on the hiring policies of a company? Should there be regulations on them? Now, the reason I'm asking this actually is because let's take the data at face value. Let's say that diversity is helping companies do better. So companies should be then hiring more people of diverse groups. Now, the point is, like, I'm taking an extreme example, okay, which makes no sense in this context, but maybe we can link the two. Let's say child labor, okay. Extreme example, has nothing to do with diversity hiring, but let's say child labor is beneficial to companies. Should we allow them to do it? If we are saying that diversity hiring might be getting rid of some candidates who would have otherwise gotten through, and for the sake of profits or for the sake of the good of the company, we are letting them go. But let's say this raises an ethical issue, in which case, who is responsible for monitoring the amount of diversity or the lack of diversity in a company? It's a tough question, and it's also very, like, it's a different one. But yeah, I just want your response on this.
So actually, that's a loaded question. And to be truthful, I would say that I'm merely a fresher, and
Yeah.
I have
No, I myself don't know the answer. That's why I'm asking questions. Yeah.
whatever policies that you're implementing, everything should be done in moderate, because even excess of good is not good. So
Right, makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. How would you define that this organization has diversity?
so first thing is understanding your workforce. Second thing is to understand even if they want to bring diversity, from where should they bring diversity? Because this is a very, very vast topic and it is not limited to only gender. It is related to, you can say, skin color, race, ethnicity, then it can be age as well, because different age groups also play a part in diversity. So, if you are going to focus on a particular factor, how is it going to benefit your organization? So, that's another thing. Thirdly, and the most important thing is, you should focus on diversity of opinion rather than superficial diversity. So, superficial diversity means that you're focusing only on the outer aspect of a candidate, like their gender or their skin color or their ethnicity. It does not necessarily mean that they can bring a different perspective. A very great example of this is an African who is living in US, and a person who has US roots present there, right? Since they both are living in the same country and they both have the same upbringing, but one person is black and other person is white, it does not necessarily mean that they can bring different perspective, because they both have had the same upbringing, same life experiences. So these are some things that it is difficult to like it. I do admit that it's very difficult to get into the depth of a candidate this much, because an HR has got so many work to do, right? They cannot just focus on a cultural factor.
Shreya, that's a very good point that you brought up, that um, life experiences depend not just on, like you said, gender or skin color or any other way in which, let's say, we can physically tell that, okay, your traits are different. Let's get to the next question. These questions keep getting tougher. Would diversity hiring policies be applied or extended to other sectors also, like healthcare or construction? Now, the reason I'm asking this is because in healthcare, there is usually a high concentration of women. So, should we apply for diversity in all sectors? And if so, like, how would we go about doing that? I mean, let's say that there are not enough men who are interested in nursing. Okay, this is just an assumption, but let's say that there aren't enough and you need to fill in slots. In that case, do you allow women to come in? And if that is the case, then what happens to the metric of this is diverse enough as an organization or no?
What I feel that if you want to make the workforce more diverse, either you can increase the number of men, but this comes with an asterisk. The ones who can give a different opinion, a different approach, or a different perspective on the current scenario, on the current working system. And this can also include people who are from the LGBTQ community, who support these kind of causes, who are aware of these things, because in healthcare especially it's important. And then because these topics are normally considered as taboo by the society. Okay, and yeah, in healthcare, I would say that this is my perspective, and I am not like I don't have much experience in these non-tech sectors. So this is just me giving my opinion from as an outsider. So you can take it with a pinch of salt. That's completely fine. As far as construction is concerned, I feel that this sector is highly unsafe for women, and it has been since a long amount of time. Because and there are a lot of cases where we hear that women are not being are being treated properly. There are various cases of harassment, rapes, and so on. And why this is happening? Because there are no safety policies for women, even the minority women who are working there. There are no policies for them. There's nothing to safeguard them basically, because they all at that time they're concerned that if they speak up about this, then their jobs might be affected, right? So there are very different circumstances in different sectors, and taking all these things in mind, you need to make the hiring policies. And I don't think that in areas like construction, the people who are hiring, they think so much about the candidate, because it's a low skill work, right? And they are like people who want to earn money, their daily wages. They just hire them. Like they don't do much research on like where they're coming from, or what's the ethnicity, or what, like anything, any other factors. So it is very different. It is very different from the tech world. And I don't think that we can completely justify or give a wholesome solution on how can we apply these policies in the non-tech sectors, because their situations are really different from the tech world.
So I just want to like clarify. One of the points that you made was there are no policies, or in terms of sexual harassment or rape. Is like totally legal. Sexual harassment is also totally illegal. How they're implemented, I absolutely agree with you. It's not like they're implemented in the right way all the time. So we can definitely improve on that. In general, though, if healthcare is a sector which does require a diversity of opinion, would some sort of policy where there is a minimum number of men, let's say, in healthcare, be a good idea?
Speaking superficially, like it's like a very opposite situation. Like if we compare tech and healthcare, in tech the number of men are more and the women are less, whereas in healthcare the number of women are more and the men are less. So if we are going to dig deeper into whether they can really bring a diversity of opinion. And I do believe that a diversity of opinion will bring a change in healthcare, because healthcare is in the research side, to be honest, because that in that way only you can bring innovation. But in hospitals, I feel that it's more about the safety of the patients rather than the innovation part, because those research part is being done in a very different sector, the medical research. And the people who are working in the hospital, they have a very different set of issues. And the very first issue I would say is safety of the patients, because even nowadays you must have heard that a woman was hospitalized, and some nurse, and this nurse is a male nurse, he's a boy, and he came into the ward and he took advantage of this woman. So in a hospital, I feel that safety should be the main thing that one should take care of. Secondly, in the research side, there should be diversity. opinions, because that is only going to innovate the current methodologies that are present, and they are basically going to challenge the current system, or maybe bring new ideas, and what, or like maybe they can even bring some creative ideas. So that's my take on the healthcare part.
So Shreya, just to share an experience that I had as a software engineer, one of the things that happened to me when I joined one of the organizations that I was working in is, okay, I joined this organization which had a overwhelming number of men in the team, which is basically 100%. Okay, after 2 years, we had our first, first woman hire. So this was not because of any other reason except that we did not find enough women in engineering colleges who accepted our offer, let's say. So firstly, the number of women in engineering colleges are low. Second thing, so that by definition means that the number of women who you will end up hiring is going to be really low, and then they also have to accept your offer. So probably we were, the offer maybe that they were getting in other places, like there were other organizations that they were choosing to join. So we had a very, very skewed number of men to women. Now, what happened here is maybe because of lack of regulation or whatever, but I used to see that eventually the whole organization, I mean, places where there were no women, especially in the dev areas, there came in a lot of toxicity. Okay, and guys, like I said, we have an 88% male audience, so I don't want to offend too many people, but this is my personal experience, right? I saw that the toxicity was almost unbearable, to the point that people come around and they don't care how they're working. They're just hitting people on top of, there's people who are walking into the room, hitting the other guy on top, on their head and saying that you are not gymming these days, or something like that. Now, this is not widespread, but even one incident is extreme. And if you're not going to immediately stop that as what's the right word here, as wrong behavior basically in an office, it will keep getting worse and worse. So what happened here, I think, was because of a lack of rules, lack of regulations, lack of policies in this office. The whole environment got toxic, and because they were mainly men, the toxicity moved towards, like, in general, how do men, if you keep too many men together with nobody to control them, what's going to end up happening is that there's going to be some sort of physical attitude towards work. So that's what I felt. I don't know whether I should have even shared this experience now, but in general, after that, when I joined an organization, I saw a place with a lot of rules, a clear hierarchy, and the rules of engagement were very clear in the second organization. So what ended up happening there is, even if you had an all-men team, there wasn't that much toxicity, firstly. And the second thing was, there was diversity. One of the things about diversity is that, my opinion on this, one of the things about diversity is that how do you get the opinions of a woman in an organization without actually hiring women? Okay, I personally, 3 years ago, I used to believe that you can have diversity by diversity of opinion, or you can think and you can get diverse views and viewpoints. But how do you get the diversity of a person without their lived experience? Now, there is a cost to this. Like we are saying, there may be a cost in terms of you rank people in the top 100 and you have to remove some of them and get people from different sides. So yes, there is a cost, maybe in terms of talent, but you may decide that that cost is justified because you now have a diverse set of opinions which will let you react in the real world much better. Anyway, the tests that you're taking are all analytical and mathematical. Anyway, your tests are skewed. So it's a decision that companies and organizations have to make as to whether this test is the end all when it comes to hiring.
The reason why I'm saying this here is because this was not just a one person or just 2 or 3 people. it was nearly one fourth of the population that is interacting with me who said that I'm from a tier one college. I'm not going to use this word. Sorry, please edit this out. This is going to create very much controversy. That I'm from a good college and I'm a girl. That's why I was able to bag all the opportunities, and that's why I was able to get all the interviews. They don't know the kind of struggle that I went through, even when I said that these hirings were generic hirings, they refused to believe. Some of them refused to believe, and some of them were like, even if it's a generic hiring, interviewers do give preferential treatment to a female candidate. So it seems like if you're hired from a diversity hiring program, you're automatically judged and you are not accepted. If you're hired from a generic hiring process, even then you are judged. So what is the way in which a female engineer is not being judged? Because honestly, it was not just one person or two-person, it was a fraction of the population. So that's
Yeah.
why I felt that it's a good idea to raise this issue and to understand, like, I have also had my share of rejections, to be honest.
I think it's a very good point that you have brought up. It's not just one or two people. There is a sizable minority, but a sizable one. Most of the people who have probably contacted you are very young. Usually, when people end up getting married, their diversity of opinion increases by 100% anyway. In general, though, if there's anyone online who is bullying someone, it's our responsibility as a society to make sure that there is no bullying. There might be critical opinion, there might be even offensive things. There is a freedom to offend, but in any civilized discussion, you don't expect the intent to be to offend people or the intent to be to hurt someone. So it's good that you brought this up.
So the intent behind this video is to rethink as to what all these issues really mean, where have they come from, and how we as a society can do our part into improving and making a better, like you could say, a better world around us. Like, because this is diversity is not just associated with women, although it's majorly being done by tech companies, but it is not just restricted to women. It's a very diverse, it's a very big issue, to be honest. And we as a society have a responsibility to be aware about these issues and how to tackle them. And if someone is using this diversity issue as an excuse to bully someone or to talk trash behind their back, it is our responsibility to call them out and to make sure that no one ever does this again. Finally, what I want to say is that, diversity or not, I feel that these programs are not basically having a major effect on the general hiring process. Firstly, and the most important thing, people feel that we are snatching the opportunities from their hands simply because we are from a certain gender or because we belong to a certain college. But even I'm proof that like, even though I belong to a top college, I still opted to go for the on off campus process, right? So it's a proof that if you just set your mind on something and work hard, you will be able to make the best of the opportunity that you get as a student.
Thank you, Shreya. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for bringing this discussion to light. I think your views, your opinions, and your thoughts on this deserve to be put out there without anyone trying to suppress it. Even if the majority is totally against you, there's a lot of things that the majority was against earlier. So, freedom of speech, that's the most important thing. You may be wrong, I may be wrong, the people in the comments may be wrong, but one of the things that I think universally agree is that we have the right to be wrong if required. Like, we have the right to say what's on our mind and then test it in the real world and test it with data. But thank you so much for coming, and wishing you all the best. Hopefully it'll be a fun, next 6 months you're probably going to be joining your first company. So all the best. We'll see you next time.
Have a great day. Bye.
In fact, Shreya, do you want to skip the rapid fire round, because I haven't set up any questions for this, and I think that because it's such a good and serious topic, it might kill the seriousness or kill the whole discussion only. Like when people, what the, like, what's your favorite food? Biryani. Oh, very good, very good.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I agree with this.